Hey everybody, this is for my shared reading lesson plan. The book I'm using, bear with me, I don't have a big book, and I feel like I needed to have a book in front of me to do it. So I chose this one. It's Thomas and Friends, Edward the Hero. The Fat Controller asked Edward to work at the rescue center with Harold. He would be Edward the Hero. Edward didn't know how to be a hero. He wasn't fast or stern. As Edward made his way to the rescue center, he met Charlie looking sad. Edward told him a joke and made him giggle. Edward was funny, but he wasn't fast or stern like a hero. Further along the line, Dowager Hat was looking worried. She had lost her suitcase. Edward kindly found it and brought it safely back to her. Edward was kind, but he wasn't fast or stern like a hero. Next, Edward saw a scared dog. He gently edged closer. The dog jumped aboard, and Edward took him back to the farmer. Edward was gentle, but he wasn't fast or stern like a hero. Edward couldn't find Harold at the rescue center, so he puffed back to the Knapford station. The Fat Controller was happy Edward the Hero had arrived. Edward was a hero just being himself. He was funny, kind, and gentle. The end. Okay, so to explain my lesson plan for that, it'd be the grade level would be second grade. Content area is just shared reading. Title lesson is shared reading lesson. And of course the book is Thomas and Friends, Edward the Hero. The two standards I'd be using from Iowa Core are ask and answer questions about what a speaker says in order to clarify comprehension, gather additional information, or deepen understanding of a topic or issue, and that was SL 2.3. The second one I would be using is recount or describe key ideas or details from a text read aloud or information presented orally or through other media, and that's SL 2.2. The learning outcomes for this unit are the student will be able to read along with the teacher to the book Thomas and Friends, Edward the Hero. The student will be able to answer questions the teacher asks while reading the text. The student will be able to explain the key details and words from the text. Essential questions for this lesson. Why is it important to show expression and enthusiasm when reading a story? And the second one is, how does pointing at a word while reading it help you become a stronger reader? Objectives and learning targets. The student will learn 5 different vocabulary words from the book: stern, giggle, kindly, gently, and abroad. The student will read along with the teacher while using a pen or a finger to point at the words. The student will be able to describe key details from the story, answer questions the teacher asks about the story. The I can statements. I can use the words stern, giggle, kindly, gently, and abroad in a sentence and explain what they mean. I can identify key details from the story, including pictures, characters, and vocabulary words. I can read along with the teacher while pointing at each word from each page. The depth of knowledge from this, students will identify the key details from the story, including the main characters, pictures, and 5 vocabulary words. Students will state answers to the questions asked by the teacher while reading the text together. The pre-assessment, the teacher will introduce the 5 vocabulary words before reading the book Thomas and Friends, Edward the Hero. And the teacher will ask 2 questions. Have you ever heard of Thomas the Train? And have you ever read a story along with someone? For the formative assessments, we got asking questions. The teacher will ask questions about the book and the text about the book and the text to the student during the shared reading. This will help the student identify key details from the text. The second one is practice vocabulary words in sentences. The student will practice using all 5 vocabulary words in a sentence with help from the teacher. And the third thing is, of course, a running record. The teacher will use a running record while reading along with the student to see what their MSVs are. And summative assessment. Hopefully by the end of the shared reading lesson, the teacher will read the book once or twice with the student reading along, and then the student will then read the book alone while the teacher completes one final running record on the student, and the teacher will use the student's running record sheet to determine how well they did. For APK, of course, the teacher will ask the students to raise their hands, review classroom rules, introduce the lesson to the students, and then ask those 2 questions from the pre-assessment. The teacher, for A and I, acquiring new information, the teacher will explain and define the 5 vocabulary words and provide examples of each in a sentence. The teacher will make a list of all 5 vocabulary words on the whiteboard for the student to see. The teacher will read Thomas and Friends' Edward the Hero aloud to the student with great expression while the student sits and listens quietly. And then while reading, the teacher will point at each word using a pen or pencil for the student to follow along with. The teacher will read this story to the student a couple times to ensure the student understands the key details of the story. And then the student will read along with the teacher, pointing at each word with a pen or pencil while they read. For APP, the teacher will ask the student questions while reading the book. This is going to help the students identify key details and be engaged in the shared reading. The students will practice the vocabulary words by reading them in the story and then writing them in sentences once the reading is done. The teacher will complete a running record on the student, and the teacher will provide materials. GenSum. The teacher will ask the students questions after they read shared reading about the story and the details from the story, and the student will respond to the questions with support from the book. After teaching the lesson, the student will have a great understanding of the 5 vocabulary words. The student will have a great understanding of the key details from the story. The student will be able to read a story by themselves. That's the main goal. The student will be able to read along with other people, including peers, family members, other staff members, etc. No homework will be given to the students. Materials for the teacher are going to be the book, pen, pencil, whiteboard markers. For the students, just going to be the book, the pen, and pencil. And then just some accommodations. The teacher will give IEP students an extended amount of time. Special needs students the teacher will provide extra help and guidance when completing activities. ELL, the teacher will write the directions on the board and clearly state them out loud repetitively throughout the class period or the lesson. At risk, the teacher will provide a quiet area or study room for students at risk. And for talented and gifted, the teacher will provide a more challenging book or text for students who are talented and gifted. And then for my shared reading lesson plan template, the text, of course, is the book, materials, and all that. So on meeting Monday, I would have the teacher will present the book to the student by first showing the cover page and reading the title and showing the illustration on the front. Next, the teacher will read the book to the student using enthusiasm, great expression, and a pointer like a pen or pencil to point at each word as they read them. Think about it Tuesday. I would have the teacher will read each page of the book to the student while using great expression and using a pen or pencil to point at each word again. After the teacher is done, the student will read along or by themselves each page while the teacher uses a running record chart to mark the students' MSVs and to analyze their mistakes. The teacher for Wordy Wednesday, the teacher will have the student read along with them, this time while reading the book. The teacher will stop on words that the student may not recognize or vocabulary words. In this book, these words will include stern, giggle, kindly, gentle, and abroad. These words will be added to a vocabulary list on the whiteboard, and the teacher will practice pronouncing these words with the student while showing great expression. Talking Thursday. The teacher will have the student try reading the book page for page by themselves while the teacher points to each word. The teacher will ask questions about the text and the story on each page to engage the student in the story and to keep them talking and just kind of help them just talk and read. The teacher will explain the importance of expression when reading the text and have the student practice while reading. And then for Fun Friday, the teacher will read the book to the student, pointing at each word with a pen or pencil, and while reading to the student, the teacher will ask questions about the story. After the teacher is finished, the student will be asked to read the book using expression and enthusiasm all by themselves. And that is it for that lesson.